Good evening and welcome to another episode of Upon Further Review. This is episode 4. And before we get things started, do us a favor, like and share this page, and follow us over at Livestream STL on our Facebook page. That way you get notifications on when we go live. Going to bring in the panel here, Matt Bates in the center here, and Jeff Whitener on the far side from me. Gentlemen, how are things going?
Going well.
Doing great, Ray. Ready to kick off the week here with a little football talk.
And we're doing this a little earlier, so Jeff is going to be sporting his big coffee cup from time to time here to make sure that he stays awake. So, Jeff, we appreciate that. Stay properly hydrated. That's correct. So, without further ado, we are going to jump into the Week 3 results. We'll go through this real quick here, gentlemen. Our Livestream STL Friday Night Blitz game of the week. Herculaneum on top of Jefferson 16-8. Lindbergh 35, Fox 14. Seckman 64, Northwest 6. St. Pius X 35, Grandview nothing. Valley Catholic 59, Fredericktown nothing. Hillsborough 49, Fort Zumwalt West 13. St. Genevieve 42, Orchard Farm 17. Afton 56, DeBerg 12, North County 42, DeSoto nothing, Festus 36, Windsor 6, Crystal City 32, Bayless 14, and our last game, St. Vincent 38, Perryville 7. Gentlemen, a lot of offers as far as games, a lot of blowouts there going on, but some other games that were kind of surprising and got quite a few teams that are still undefeated.
Yes, we do. Let's touch first on the Herky R7 game, or Jefferson R7 game that we covered. That was a tight game in between the 30-yard lines. That was a game where I think even some of our pregame notes, it was at least one of mine was if you could stop Jackson Deering, that kind of would flow down to potentially stopping Lucas Barr as well. But the other dynamic is that you could do that, but nobody figured out a way to really contain Mike Maloney, who was at least the player of the game on at least for Herculaneum. 15 carries, 49 yards, and then 13 tackles on the other side of the ball, and is now he's tied for 5th in the area in total tackles. So as much as Deering was held in check. I mean, he was 11 for 21, only 95 yards passing, and 9 carries for 19 yards rushing. I mean, it was a credit to the R7 defense as well, but it just like they had a hard time sputtering on their offense as well, and Herky just made the most of what little opportunities that they had.
Absolutely. I'll let Jeff
I agree
say the same thing. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, I was going to say I agree with Matt on that analysis for sure. Mike Maloney, to me, was the difference maker in the game. It's a situation where you've got on the Herky side of the ball, they adapted. They figured out a way to win in a way that they hadn't won this year so far, and they were able to take what the Jefferson defense, which the Blue Jay defense played a very good game. They were able to take what the defense gave them and capitalized on that. And in this case, it was Mike Maloney. And as you mentioned, Mike Maloney, a force on both sides of the ball. He's always been a great linebacker ever since he was a freshman for the Black Cats. And, it was all about heart and determination and a knockdown, drag-out fight. And for Jefferson, they're 1-2 now. However, there are some good takeaways from this game. Carson Hafner, the rookie quarterback, the sophomore, he took his lumps in that game, but he was a warrior. He stayed out there. He took some big-time hits from the Herky defense. So that's something for him, definitely moving forward, that is a plus for the Blue Jays.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think, Herky knew that they were probably going to be having, the Jefferson defense targeting, they're going to target Deering and they're going to target Lucas Barr, and they knew that going into that particular game. But I think they found ways to get creative, got Mike Maloney going, and he definitely shone bright in this particular game. I was surprised that from the time to time you mentioned this texting to me during the game, Jeff, that they throw Lucas Barr from time to time, and I didn't pick up on that until this particular week. So you throw Lucas Barr in there to run the Wildcat. Sometimes it was effective, for the most part. I mean, I think it was trying to just give them a different look, to maybe shake up the psyche a little bit more than anything else. But definitely, pushing that button to Mike Maloney, I think, was definitely the right call and the difference in the game. So very good game there for the Herculaneum Blackcats. We'll move on here to any of the other games here that you guys want to take a look at as well.
Well, I guess let's chat about a couple of the undefeated teams, and I'll do the proverbial handing of the ball off to Jeff to talk about the Hillsborough game. They had a tough test, at least on paper, it was going to be a tough test against Fort Zumwalt West, and they wind up victorious in that, 49-13. Was a relatively tight game. It was 14-7 at halftime, but the 28 points by Hillsborough in the fourth quarter just really seemed to seal the deal for them. And Austin Romine, 10 carries, 111 yards. Seems to be doing dynamite in a small package. What's your take on that, Jeff?
Well, yeah, that game was actually a very close game going into halftime. Fort Zumwalt West was hanging with Hillsborough, but that Hillsborough offense just wears you down over time. It's that 1-2 punch, that thunder and lightning that Romaine and Patterson bring to the table, just too much. And we talk about those two, but we don't really talk about the quarterback enough for Hillsborough and Preston Brown. And he's quietly having a very good season himself. He's only passed the ball 29 times, but he's 22 for 29, and he's actually third in the whole entire metro area in passing ratio. 6 touchdown passes, only 1 interception, and a quarterback ratio of over 165. So I wanted to mention Preston Brown, too, in his play, because we always hear about the backfield, and he's been a vital part of that Hillsborough backfield.
Yeah, and again, Hillsborough's just total collective offense seems to be like dynamite in a small package. 8 for 10 for 87 yards passing and a TD doesn't sound like much of a day, in the pocket. But when he also pulls down the ball and has 10 carries for 93 yards, that's the dual threat that if he's going to pull it down, you have to be ready for the pass. But when you got a team that's averaging close to 9 yards a carry for the game, that's pounding the ground pretty good. And then when you do put the ball in the air, you're doing it effectively and you're doing it accurately and getting yardage as well on that. So kudos to Preston Brown and manning the helm on that ship over there for Hillsborough, and really, I would say, taking it to a tough Fort Zumwalt West team. And it's also a game where, you got a large school that's got to travel like almost an hour plus to get up there. And so, this wasn't just a short trip for them across town either. This was a game that had some distance. You're going into hostile territory. And so, again, kudos to Coach Sucharski and coming down with the win against them.
Yeah, talking to him a little bit this week, you have the important pieces you guys have already talked about: Jackson Patterson, Austin Romaine. You've got your quarterback play, but also a lot of these guys play on both sides of the ball, so you can't leave out the defense in this. And I believe that that second half, we were kind of monitoring the game from time to time throughout the night, Friday night, but you kind of saw it was kind of give and take. Well, second half, they just pretty much took over. And I believe that probably attributed to not just running down, the Fort Zumwalt defense, but, the Hillsborough defense, rising to the cause as well. So, You've got a lot of kids over there that play both ways, Romaine and Jackson Patterson as well. So, those guys, they like to tote the rock, but they like to take that rock away too. So that's my take on that one there. Hey, we're catching up here with Coach Bill Sucharski from the Hillsborough Hawks. How you doing, Coach?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Awesome. Hey, 3-0 on the season. You guys have been averaging 48 points a game here, so ranking up a lot of points with the two-headed monster there of Austin Romaine and Jackson Patterson. And I'll tell you, you guys have been rolling every week here. Give us a little bit of on the season so far for these 3 games.
So far, like you mentioned, the offense has been playing pretty well. We've actually the last couple of years, obviously Jackson and Austin have been big bell cows for us on the offensive side of the ball, but we've really done a good job of getting other kids involved offensively. So besides those two, they run as normally. They just haven't had as many touches because we've gotten other kids involved. But they've played really well for us, both offensively and defensively. The defense has played really well for us as well, which is on Friday night it was a 7-7 ball game with about a minute to go in the first half, and the defense kept us in it. We kind of came out a little bit slow out of the gate, which was unusual from our first 2 games this year, but had some untimely turnovers. But the defense held us in it, and then we were able to get a big score before the half. But, other kids that have stepped up in the running back room, Peyton Brown is a junior for us. He's really done well this year. And Cohen Linderer's come in, and he's had some big carries for us. He had a big touchdown run week 1 against Sykeston. And then we've been able to move the ball in the air, averaging over 100 yards a game in the air, which is a lot better than what we've been in the past. So Preston Brown, he's done a really good job at quarterback for us. And, I think we've got 7-8 kids who've already caught passes on the year. So he's distributed the ball real well. My son, Sucharski's had a couple touchdowns, Blake Larson, and he had a good game. Jackson out of the backfield had 5 catches last night for us, able to hit the tight end. So, those guys have done a great job. Dalton Ross, he's a junior receiver for us. I think he leads our team in receptions right now, and he's got 2 touchdown catches as well. So those guys have done a really outstanding job spreading the ball around. Coach Anderson's done a good job getting those guys all involved in the mix, and we just hopefully continue to improve with both the run and the pass game.
Awesome. Well, we'll talk a little bit about your defense as well. Maybe some unsung heroes on the opposite side of the ball. I know some of your players, they play both ways, but on both sides of the ball. You guys are averaging, only giving up close to about 10 points a game. So that has to be a good attribution to the defense. Maybe elaborate on your defense right now.
The defense has played really well. We kind of tell them 2 of our touchdowns we've given up have been by our younger kids. So our defense has actually played, I would say, even better than what the points given up. They gave up 1 touchdown as a starting unit week 1. They didn't give up any week 2, and they were able to hold a very what I feel is a very good offensive football team in France or Fort Zumwalt West to a touchdown and 2 field goals last night. So they played really well on the D line. Alex Medina, he's played really well. Hunter Reed has as well, and then our linebacking core, which we returned a lot of those guys from last year between Austin, Jackson, Peyton Brown's been in our Kenyon Stout's a real smart player for us. He's been a 2-year starter at our outside linebacker spot. And our secondary's done a good job in coverage. Those guys back there, we rotate some guys too to keep those guys fresh. But our starters in there, Blake Larson, Harrison Boyles, who's a returning starter from last year, and Griffin Ray, and Gavin Alexander, those guys have done a really good job in pass coverage and, get some tips and everything and some picks. We had 2 picks last night. So they threw it 37 times on us, and we were able to get some turnovers.
Wow. Yeah. You've got North County coming in this week, and what's the game plan going into the North County week?
Well, obviously we know how talented their running back is, Job Smith. So we've got to be able to contain him, control him at the line of scrimmage, not let him get loose. Their offense gets going when he starts rolling on the ground. So we got to contain him. We've got all 3 films on him. Their quarterback's new, but he can throw the ball pretty well. He did a good job, I thought, against St. Clair, getting out of the pocket and making some big throws. He had to make a big throw to win the game against St. Clair. So we got to stop him. The quarterback and Job Smith, the city kid's a real good tight end, physical kid on defense. So we just got to control those guys and rally to the football.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate the time here. We appreciate you catching up with us, and we'll catch you up down the road.
All right, sounds good. Thank you very much.
That is Coach Bill Sucharski from the Hillsborough Hawks. And we are back here. We're going to take a look at a few other games here. Guys, any game that kind of jumps out at you again?
Let's touch on Crystal City and Bayless since, one, it's been a while since Crystal City has, we talk about them being undefeated, but now to talk about them being undefeated and 3-0, this is a team that scored 83 points, and they've now only given up 20 points all year.
Yeah.
Now, you can say what you want, that, they're an independent school and this and that. At the end of the day, they're playing the teams that are on their schedule, and they're beating them, and they're beating them handedly. And this 32-14 win against Bayless, even though Bayless was 1-1 at the time, you've got 5 rushers on Crystal City's team that have over 100 yards. 4 of the 5 of them have a touchdown, and the one back that they've got one back that doesn't have 100 yards rushing, but he's the one who makes up for the other touchdown. He only has 2 carries and about like 40 yards, averaging 20 yards a pop. But I mean, they're mixing up their run game as well too, and Coach Fox has really got a really good team problem to have with rotating people in and out and just getting the job done. Jeff, what's your thoughts on the Crystal City Hornets right now?
Well, a couple of thoughts. A couple of years ago, it was probably perhaps the hardest decision that Crystal City had to make, leaving the I-55 conference and going independent. But when you looked at their enrollment numbers and looked at the players that they were able to actually come out, and sometimes they were down to 13 kids on the roster at the point. And there's just no way that you can compete with schools that are larger at that point. And they didn't want to leave the conference. They had all of these longtime rivals, but it was the best thing that they could ever do going independent. And Dan Fox is a very good coach. He has proved his mettle. He comes from that coaching chain with Alex Rugley and with some of these other coaches along the way that got their start with Hillsborough back in the day and kind of branched out from there. But Dan Fox is a very good coach. He's got those numbers up. They're playing very good ball, and it's really nice and fun to see the Crystal City fans and the faithful have something to cheer about. And a 3-2 start is great. And, their final game of the regular season, they're going to have to play Herky. And that'll really be a nice test to see, going from an independent schedule back to an I-55 team, just how far they've progressed.
You're exactly right, Jeff. And because looking at their upcoming game, they played Confluence, a team that's been shut out both games. They've been outscored 85-0 all year. But Crystal City's got to go up to Confluence. They've got to take care of business. And you're right. At the end of that last game on the schedule, I guess call that your playoff game, if you will, right?
Well,
in a sense, yeah. I mean.
Yeah. Go ahead.
And I totally agree on the thought process too. I mean, whether they're independent, they're now putting the juice on the table for all the boys to drink now to develop a winning environment, whatever it takes. Again, put the program on the map, because you were like a heartbeat away from having the plug pulled on this athletic team. And, at the end of the day, there's boys that do want to play football. And, part of going to your school is that, to be involved in athletics like that. And so I think that was a good job by the school to at least make the decision to go independent. And you're seeing the results that it's having for the kids that are now able to participate.
Yeah, I agree too. I think that the importance of that, it was not, they weren't just throwing in the towel. It was just like, we're going to do this rebuild, and we're going to try to do the very, very best that we could to turn this thing around and make it be something successful, and definitely has dividends right now. It's paying off, and kudos to Crystal City and the coaching staff over there right now as they roll into week 4 at Confluence. Moving on here to another game. Gentlemen?
I would look at the North County DeSoto game and bridge that into the Festus Windsor game, because to me, DeSoto, coming off of, they started the year beating Bishop DeBerg 42-12, but then they lost. Then they lost to Sullivan 38-0, and Sullivan had only allowed one TD. North County had beaten Farmington. They'd beaten St. Clair. They came in 2-0. But I thought DeSoto would have been a little more competitive in this game. I was not expecting a shutout. I mean, maybe like if you would have told me 14-0, something like that, okay. But just 42-0 was a bit of a mind blower when I saw that one.
Well, the Dragons found out what the rest of the teams found out, that Job Smith is sort of a team unto himself. He can do it all for the Raiders, and they got an early dosage of him in that game. I was monitoring that game online as I was working with you guys in studio, and there was no answer in how to stop Job Smith in that game, and I'm very pleased that we'll be able to talk a little bit more about Job Smith here on this show and what he has done for the North County Raiders. But DeSoto is just another team, and what will be a long line of teams that is going to be very frustrated by what he brings to the table.
It is now time for our Player of the Week for our Upon Further Review segment here, and we are with Job Smith from the North County Raiders. How you doing, Job?
Doing good.
Awesome. Hey, we took a look at some of your stats here. My gosh, goodness, scoring, you are fifth in the area here in scoring with scoring. You have 58 points on the season here, 9 touchdowns so far. Second total yards rushing in the area here with 635. You are averaging 11.5 yards per carry here, and all-time the new all-time leading rusher at North County. Congratulations on that to begin with, and we'll take a look at some other things. Looking at all the offers that you've got going on here as well. You've got an offer from Valparaiso, from Culver Stockton, Southwest Baptist. Have you made any choices yet?
Not yet. I'm still waiting on better opportunities and hopefully get the best one.
Well, that's okay, and you got plenty of time there. So, first big question here for you. Talk to us about the North County Raiders football team and the season the team's having. Let us know how things are going down in North County.
So far, these first 3 weeks have kind of been a grind, and we're just excited for next week. But overall, we're not the same team as we were last year. Lost a few key guys, but overall, up front, we're still strong. And Jack Moore, our new quarterback, he's played a big role so far, and we're just hoping to make a big run like last year.
Awesome. And, you talk about the runs here. You've got yourself positioned right now, still undefeated, and taking a look into your particular conference and district play as well. Right now, things are looking really good. Do you think you guys have the ability to pull off a conference championship this season?
I think we definitely have the talent. It's just depends if we can stay strong through the next few weeks, and it's going to be a grind, but I think we can do it.
You are a multi-sport athlete. Let me get this right here: football, basketball, baseball, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Football. Which sport is your favorite?
It really just depends. I think during the season, obviously, right now during the fall, football is definitely on top. But I think as we move on into the winter months, I think basketball kind of takes over, and then to the spring, I think baseball.
Well, and one of the things that we kind of found out about you, you do a really good job of marketing yourself. You're not in an area here like you're not in St. John, you're not in, down in Cape Girardeau, you're not in St. Louis. You're kind of in a rural area, and from what we're gathering, I mean, you do an amazing job of letting coaches out there know about you and everything. It's hard for athletes outside the major metropolitan areas to get noticed by recruiters. So do you have any advice that you would like to give out, maybe to other rural athletes? We'll leave it at that on how to market yourself and get noticed.
I think one of the most important things is just reaching out. This social media nowadays is a very important thing, especially Twitter. If you follow a coach on Twitter and just hopefully their messages are open, you can send them a message, introduce yourself. But other than that, going to camps, just hopefully you do well there, and overall just boosting yourself and making sure your Twitter page looks as good as it can, and that's about it.
There you go. Good job. Who are some of your biggest influence?
Definitely my two older brothers. One of them, his name's Briley. He's a CrossFitter down in Springfield, and he definitely